Hey there everyone, and welcome back to Game Vine, and my name is Dave, and today we're going to talk about more Dice Masters. Now, you know I love this game, and this is the fourth Marvel set to come onto the scene, and it's all about the Civil War. Now, this came out during the movie hype, go figure, but it has a lot of the comic book flair, I think, more so than the movie. This set I have the most of, I think, only because I did my tournament phase when it came out, and I bought a lot of rainbow draft packs, and I have a gravity feed, so I got quite a bit of this one here, and I had fun doing the competitive scene. But you can have just as much fun just playing on a casual level and mixing and matching and figure out what the different abilities do and how they work together. I don't want to get too much into what I like about Dice Masters, but if you're watching this video here, you know how to play Dice Masters. Well, you should. And if you don't, there's a tutorial on the channel. You can check that out. Today, we're just going to find out what comes in the set of the Civil War and what it brings to the table and what the dice look like and how the cards actually play out. So, without further ado, let's check out those dice and then we'll get on to what the cards do. Let's go. So I like to start with the dice, and this time around they have a colorful palette. No color is left untouched. I do think there is a lack of green, but I'm totally biased. But other than that, these dice are vibrant. They did a great job. A lot of the pictures are really cool and crisp. The Iron Man, look at that. They have duplicate characters, but they've changed the picture, which I appreciate that. I think the stats stay the same, though. But you have a whole bunch of different types, too. Pearlescent ones, translucent ones, solid, and even a few glittery ones among the mist. Now, I go over my favorites every time. Captain got a upgrade, and it has kind of a two-tone dice. I really like that one. Speedball, I'm a sucker for these two colors together, orange and blue, and that's pearlescent. Same with this here with pink and kind of this blue. This is Jessica Jones. I love this dice right here. And my ultra rare dice, speaking of glitter, I don't know if you can see that. Focus up. I think you can see some glitter in there. But this is the Captain America dice too, but we'll get to that in a second. So now let's go over the cards and find out what comes in the set. Alright, so before we start, this is what you get in the starter set. The basic action cards and dice, and the heroes and their dice as well, and everything else you need to start for a two-player game. But then they also have the cool bags. I'm really appreciative of this, so continue to do this, WizKids. The old bags would just sit on my shelf. Now I feel like this is completing my set, so I like that. So now let's go over a few of the basic action cards. I want to try to keep this video as clean as we can, so we're only going to go over a few. My very favorite one here is the Superhero Registration Act. Now, we've seen this before. You draw two dice and you just roll them. But this one has an enlist on it, which is the Iron Man side, the Team Iron Man. But in it, we'll go into that a little more, what enlist is, but it's kind of a triggering ability that comes into play. It says instead, draw three dice and then roll them, unless your opponent KOs one of their character dice. Now, the set is going to be a pattern with KOing character dice. Now, unless your opponent does this, you get to draw three dice. Now, I've seen players in tournament play use their first two turns just buying these dice so they can have big rolls for the rest of the game. That's my favorite one. Brother fights brother right here. This one, again, I just want to show you the theme. Each player KOs a character dice they control, and the global is when character dice you control is KO'd, gain one life. So it's kind of giving a little bit there. Civil War right here. This one is crazy. Deal 2 damage to target opponent character dice. The controller of the character dice may deal 2 damage to the target character dice you control. So you can just deal out a lot of damage if your opponent lets characters go through. So if you have a big board, Civil War is a really good one. The last one I'm going to go over here is the Driven Underground, KO target blocking character dice. Again, they're just KOing characters. The rest of them are right here. There's Resistance, which is on the Captain America side, but we'll go into that a little more right now when we get into the characters. Let's go. Alright, so I'm going to go over some of the affiliations that aren't as prevalent, then we'll get into the meat and potatoes. The first one we have here is Mary Jane with her pink dice. She's a Spider-Man affiliation. When Mary Jane is active, when you field a character with resistance, your Mary Jane character dice gets +1 defense in the turn. She's a 2-3, she could be a 2-4. I don't know if that's going to make a difference. Now, the next Spider-Man character that we have here is Spider-Man himself. But of course, he's with Iron Man. Now, this one's different from the other Spider-Man. While Spider-Man is active, your opponent uses a when fielded ability, your Spider-Man deals 1 damage to him. And you also gain 1 life if it's on the burst. So that's cool. He's pretty expensive to bring out, but a 5-4 is a decent character count. So then we're going to go into the only Guardian of the Galaxy here, but he completes the set, I think. I'm not going to show off 2 of every card again. I just wanted to show off 1, and then you can find out the rest. But this one's just a blank. He is a 4-1, and at a 2 cost and a 1 to field, I would put him in a fast deck. Speaking of fast, it shows up here. I think it was in the D&D set, but again, it comes in the Marvel. It just means that when you attack, you deal your damage first, so that might knock out the character and keep Rocket on the field. He also can ping him for 1 damage with the global ability, so if you need a little more to hit him first and then do that, boom. I love that card. He's now completing the Guardian of the Galaxy, I think, so now you can play a deck if you so choose. Now we're going to go into the shield. Winter Soldier, when Winter Soldier is active, when your opponent uses an action dice, Winter Soldier gets +1 attack and defense. He's 6'5", 5 to bring out. It could make a difference, I guess. Maria Hill comes into play. She is weird. I just want to highlight this card. She can't attack, but unless she has the ability, and it'll tell you what she enlist will do for you, and I think having those on the card is very helpful. But when fielded, she may attack this turn with +1 attack unless your opponent KOs a character dice they control. So I don't know if she'll be able to attack beyond that. I mean, but it's just weird. She can be a blocker, of course. This card right here is probably one of my favorites in the set, and it has been played so often in the tournament against me and by me. Has Overcrush and an 8/8 at the final level, right? And only 6 to bring out, but 3 to field on his final. But get this, when Deathlock character dice would be KO'd, you may instead pay 2 life to spin the dice up 1 level and clear all the damage from Deathlock. He stays on the field and gets powerful, so you can bring him on his first level and get him up to 3 out of 8/8 and overcrush the heck and do out of somebody and do work. I mean, I love this card. So those are the affiliations that aren't really Civil War-y, but are kind of, you know what I mean. There are a few equipment cards in here. The Captain America's shield has a continuous resistance on it. When a character dice you control is KO'd, character dice you control get +2 defense in the turn. So resistance kind of happens when you see one of your brethren go down. Pim Particles, I'm going to highlight 2 of these because I like them. One gives your target character fast, and also Ant-Man and Wasp work really good with Pim Particles, but you can also give your punch character dice Overcrush and +1 attack. I mean, I just love Pim Particles, and I played that, though it is a bit slow and may not be competitive, but really cool equipments that came in, I think. So now let's get into the new Warriors. They were pretty pivotal in their reality TV show in the Civil War. Scarlet Spider right here. He has Intimidate. Now this is the first time that we've seen it here. Intimidate is when you field an Intimidate character, you choose one of the dice. He's taken off the board for a turn, so he can't block or attack or anything, and then he's put back on the board. Kind of like Control, but I think it's a bit simpler, and it just flows a little more. So Intimidate's pretty cool by Scarlet Spider, and he is a 6/3 at a 4 cost. I like him. Justice is an interesting one. He has a pretty cool dice, I think. When Justice character attacks, if you control 2 or more Psychic character dice, he gets +2 attack. So he can be a 6/4 at a cost of 2. I mean, that's pretty powerful. Alright, Speedball, we talked about him a little, about his dice. I love it. But he has fast, of course, and Speedball takes 2 less damage from non-combat damage because he's fast, and he's a 4/5. He's kind of expensive to bring out, but this one right here, I'm going to show off a few that are doubles. When Speedball takes damage, draw and roll a dice. If it shows an energy face, place it in the prep area. Otherwise, return it to the bag. So you get more dice. You know I love drawing. All right. So then we have her here. When she blocks, target shield attacking characters gets -2 attack until the end of the turn, and she is a 2/6, so she can be your wall. And I think that's from the cartoon, actually. Is that from comic? I guess so. It's pretty cool art. I like it. So those are all the new warriors I have. Now let's get into some of the Avengers. All right, so we have Wasp here. She has nice crisp black and yellow dice. I like that one. She has fast. We've discussed that before. While Wasp is attacking, when a character dice blocks, Wasp does 1 damage. Pinging, and she's a 4/3 out of 4 costs, not too bad. All right, so Intimidate we've spoke about before, but She-Hulk kind of breaks that mold, and she is super intimidating. She has intimidating, but while She-Hulk is active, opposing non-She-Hulk characters lose and cannot gain Intimidate. So she is super effective against Intimidate decks, and she is a 6/7, so pretty strong, but kind of expensive. Another Loki. Ugh, tired of Loki. 2/8. When Loki attacks, you may pay a mass to switch Loki's attack and defense till the end of turn and get an 8/2. That could really make the difference. I'm not hitting too much on this one, but whatever. All right, so the female Thor comes into play at a 6/7 and on final level with Intimidate. And it says boom, just boom. All right, so Luke Cage, he's in here. While Luke Cage is active, the first time each turn you would take damage. Prevent that damage unless your opponent pays 2 life. So it's having your opponent do stuff in order to do your abilities or to take them away. He also has a global deal 1 damage to each player. All right, so this is one of my super rares, Ronin. And while Ronin is active, once per turn, you may redirect all damage from one source to Ronin character dice. So you can have a whole bunch, and you can just keep doing that every turn and save a particular dice that you want to keep in play. Alright, so I love this Goliath here. While Goliath is active, when a player uses a global ability, Goliath gains Overcrush until the end of the turn. Now, it's specific, but pay a fist target character dice gets +1 attack and defense in the turn, so his Overcrush would be an 8/8. He's pretty powerful. It's specific, and a lot of his cards have to do with globals, but I love Overcrush so much. I like it. So Ant-Man comes into play again. He has fast, and he's a 4/3. Other character cards of his have other abilities that are pretty cool, but I just want to show off his fastness. Now, Iron Fist, I really like this card. Really cool. He's a 6/3 and a 4 cost. Pretty effective. When your opponent declares an attacker, you may pay 3 life to move an Iron Fist from your use pile to the field zone at level 2. That's really cool. You can get him back into play at a 6/3 and just keep bringing him back, and now it's going to cost you, but it might win you the game. So Hercules comes into play as well. When Hercules attacks, he cannot be blocked by sidekicks. He's a 5/7, so maybe your opponent has a lot of sidekicks. You can get through with 5 just like that. And Captain Marvel comes into play here. She may only be blocked by Bolt character dice and characters with resistance. And she is a 6/6, pretty expensive to bring out. I don't know if I would play her that often. But we have another clear character here. 2 to bring out, 2 to field, a 5/3 Falcon. That is incredible. And Falcon loves his sidekicks. When fielded, target sidekicks is unblockable this turn. So he has always been kind of taking them under his wing, you know what I mean? Alright, so now we're going to go into some of the Thunderbolt characters, and we'll get to that. Let's go. And before we do that, Captain America, he has resistance while active. At the end of your turn, if a character dice you control was KO'd this turn, you gain 1 life. Captain America, while active, at the end of your turn, spin each of your Captain America dice up 1 level. So that can be pretty effective. I forgot about him. Let's might as well go with Iron Man right here. So his enlist. When fielded, target opponent may not declare blockers this turn unless they immediately KO a character dice they control. When fielded, gain 1 life. And I like this mask. 6/6, 5 to actually purchase. So those are the big cheeses here and with the enlist, and it triggers, and it'll tell you right on the card when it triggers. That's very helpful. So the next guy I'm going to get into is Punisher here. When fielded, all other non-sidekick character dice you field for the rest of the turn gain Intimidate. So you can just take the whole board and just wipe them and do a kind of big Timmy blow and just blow up the opponent with Punisher here. Pretty cool card. He's a 6/2. Kind of expensive for a 6/2, but that ability makes up for it. Black Widow is back in the game. She has a translucent dice. Pretty cool. When fielded, target opponent must spin down an opponent character dice. That might be helpful. So then we have Venom. I love when we see symbiotes, even if it's a repeat, like his dice a lot. While Venom is active, opponent's sidekick character dice cost, one more energy to field. So basically, instead of putting them out for 0, your opponent actually has to pay. Alright, so Radioactive Man has an enlist. When Radioactive Man is KO'd by combat damage, draw and roll a dice unless the target opponent character not KOs one of their character dice. So again, just trying to KO your character dice, or you're going to let me draw. It's win-win for you. So Baron Zemo comes into play. When fielded, if you control an active character dice with resistance, move a dice from your use pile to your prep area. So you can get back a Radioactive Man or somebody that you want to use their ability again and just put them back right then and there. So Nitro, very pivotal character for the Civil War. When Nitro is KO'd, KO target opposing character dice with a defense less than or equal to Nitro's defense. So he's just blowing up. Very thematic. I like that. Alright, and then we have Bullseye here. He's another enlist character. When fielded, KO up to 2 target punch character dice unless your opponent KOs another one of their dice. He is a 5/1 and a 4 to cost, but you're out using him for his enlist power, and maybe you'll do 5 damage. He's a cool character. Songbird comes out. When Songbird blocks, she takes no damage if there's another Songbird dice blocking. I don't know how that works thematically, but she might be out there at a 3/4, creating little tiny walls, taking no damage. Then we have Moonstone. When fielded, deal 1 damage to a target opponent. I like her dice, gold and gray, really appealing, but she's a 5 and a 5/4. For that ability, I'm not sure if I'll play her too often. Alright, so now we're going to go into the no affiliation characters. Now that we're done with the Captain America and Iron Man enlist and resistant characters, we're going to go into some of these as well. Rescue, I think that's Pepper Potts in a pink Iron Man suit. At the end of your roll and reroll stage, gain 1 life for each rescue dice that you rolled that showed an energy phase. So you get the energy and you get a little bit of life. She's a 3/6. Pretty effective character. I would be prone to maybe playing her in my actual deck. So, and Miss Marvel comes into play. Man, she is more powerful than I thought. Just having a blank 6/6 with 1 to cost and to field, I mean, she can do a lot of damage. And this one right here, while Miss Marvel is active, at the end of your turn, you may spend up a target character dice that you control up 1 level and spin down a target opposing character down 1 level. So if she just came out at her first level at a 3/5, you can eventually get her up. And if you got a whole bunch of her, man, she can just destroy. Jessica Jones comes into play. She has fast, and when blocked, you may remove Jessica Jones from the attack zone, so she just kind of disappears. I don't know how that works, but interesting. And Moon Knight right here, when fielded, deal 2 damage to the opposing Iron Man character dice. When Moon Knight is active, your Captain America dice get +2 attack. Okay. And then Taskmaster comes into play. While Taskmaster is active, he gains the keyword ability of each other character in the field zone. So he can have Overcrush, Fast, Intimidate, everything, and that's very thematic. And you can just have these like Pym particles giving things to people, and he can get it as well. He kind of reminds me of the genie in Hearthstone. Really cool character. I love it. And then Shannon Carter. This is Captain America of Earth 81 223. And she is pretty powerful. And this is the other super rare that I got. She's got a sparkly dice. While she is active, your psychics get +2 attack and defense. You can make a crazy psychic deck. Now this set really was opposing psychics, but it did add a little more for, you know, if you have any past sets, you can do a Captain America and Shannon Carter deck and a Green Goblin deck and just make these big crazy white army pawns just killing people. So those are all the cards and everything that I basically have to say about this set other than my opinion. So let's get to that right now. Alright, so that is the Civil War. Now I'm going to give this game a grade and or a letter, and it's always going to be in the 90s when it has to concern with Dice Masters. It just depends what point after it gets where it lies in my favorites. This is a good one, and it's probably within the top 10. It gets a 95%, which is a strong midweight A. Not the highest grade I've given, but I think this might squeak out my favorites on the Marvel, and when it comes to like the Uncanny and the X-Men versus Avengers, I think this might be a little better, but my favorite Marvel set is the Spider-Man set. Now, I think this is a second tier Dice Masters set. Like, if you like Dice Masters and you like Marvel, then after you've played maybe the Uncanny or the Spider-Man or maybe the X-Men versus Avengers and you want to play more Dice Masters, this one is a perfect next level game. I think because there are so many different abilities that are introduced in this, but like I said prior in the video, they say what they do on the card, like if a person's KO'd or if you field a character. So that's really helpful, but there's a lot going on, and they do draw from other sets with Fast and Overcrush. So that's why I think this isn't a good starter, but a great set to, you know, maybe a novice player, not an amateur. Now, I do think that this does add some game-changing abilities, like Intimidate is really cool, a better control mechanism, and I also do like the Enlist and Resistance kind of abilities as well, because it's clearing up the board and making sure that there isn't this huge amount of characters just going at each other, because you're going to have to do stuff in rebuttal to the ability with your opponent. Now, I think that is a kind of a twist, a good twist, not an overwhelming ability to keep track of, but something that is very inviting to be in the world of Dice Masters. I mean, there is so much of it nowadays. They are still continuing to be original and just adding just enough to not overcomplicate it, but to keep me interested. So I love the Civil War set. The dice were amazing. The artwork was pretty nice as well. They did introduce some pretty key characters, I think, that haven't been introduced yet, and just kind of rounding out that library of characters, but they did double up on a few, but still kept them fresh. So I definitely recommend this set, especially if you're into Dice Masters, Marvel, and the theme of Civil War. It hits it perfectly, and other than the Yu-Gi-Oh set, every theme has really impressed me. The world of Dice Masters is always expanding, and I can't wait to see what more they have to bring and set up for us. Now, thank you so much for watching today's video. That's basically everything I have to say about the Civil War. Now, if you are a new viewer and you like what you see, well, please click like and subscribe, because it tells me that you like this content, and I'll do even more Dice Masters. If you are a continued watcher, well, you are the lifeblood, and you continue to make us feel all warm and fuzzy inside. And also want to send out a huge thank you to Dice Masters for your support. You help us continue to make content. And until the next time that I see you, that has been the Dice Masters Civil War set. You've seen it here on the Game Vine. I've been Dave, and have a great rest of your day and a great time with all the Dice Masters that you play. I'm out, everybody. Bye.